Young men in America are in serious trouble, and Scott Galloway is here to the rescue. What's up, everybody? Travis here, and I'm back with my newest book review. This time we're going to be reviewing Scott Galloway's Notes on Being a Man. Before I get started with this book review, I'd encourage everybody to give this video a thumbs up, like the video, comment on the video, give me your feedback, your thoughts. And it would really mean a lot to me if you subscribe to my YouTube channel. It really adds fuel to the fire and motivates me to keep making these videos. So let's get into the book review, Notes on Being a Man by Scott Galloway. Scott Galloway is a professor of business and marketing at the NYU Stern School of Business, one of the most prestigious business schools in the world. Really adds a lot of credibility to his name. He's also an entrepreneur. He is a podcast host. He hosts the Prof G Show, which talks about life, business, finance, money, self-improvement, all sorts of really important topics that we all could benefit from. And he's also been really focused on men's self-improvement, especially over the past few years. That's really how he rose to prominence, especially in popular culture, is that he's really shined the light on the issues that young men are facing in the world. And so let's go into why he wrote this book. When I bought the book on Amazon for my Kindle, I looked at the little summary and it had three really important sentences that I wanted to share, and it goes into the reason why Scott Galloway wrote this book. 1 in 7 men reports having no friends. Men account for 3 of every 4 deaths of despair or suicide in America. Women and children can't flourish if men are falling behind. And I would ask the viewer, look at the young men around you. Look at the men who are aged 18 to 35. Do they seem like they're strong, confident, capable, like they have the courage of their convictions, that they have a strong purpose in life? Or do they seem not confident, maybe asocial, maybe like they're drifting through this world and they're unsure of where they're going next? Because that's been my experience. I'm 30 years old right now, and a lot of the men in my age group and a little younger, they seem to be struggling to find their purpose. They seem to be struggling in the dating market. They seem to be struggling with making their own money and standing on their own 2 feet after school is over and after their parents have told them to get out of the house. It seems like a lot of young men are struggling. And so if you are a young man between the ages of 18 to 35, or if you're a dad who has a son, or just young men in your life who you see that are struggling, this will give you really good perspective. It's a really good book to pick up. And also, if you're a woman, if you are a girl with a boyfriend, if you have a sister, if you are a sister, if you have a brother, if you have a husband, if you have a boyfriend, and you see them struggling and you want to understand maybe what they're going through, pick this book up. It'll give you incredible perspective on the struggles that boys and young men are facing in society today. Over the past 50 years, women have really skyrocketed in terms of their earning potential, the grades that they've been getting, their graduation rates as well. And they've been doing really well. And as Scott Galloway points out in the book, we don't want anything to get in the way of women flourishing and succeeding in life. That's amazing, and we all benefit from it. At the same time, over the past half century, it seems like men have just fallen in terms of their relationship satisfaction, in terms of their grades in school, their graduation rates, their earning potential in the work world. And so right now we want to focus on men, and that's the focus of this book. And a lot of people think that, oh, if you focus on men and their struggles, that we won't be focusing on women anymore. But actually, it's the opposite, that if we focus on men, and if men succeed and improve, women automatically benefit, because women want to be partnered with strong men. Women want their brothers and their husbands and their fathers and all the men in their life to succeed. And if men can succeed, it also means that women will do awesome as well. And so that's really the overarching message of this book, is that men doing well is not a zero-sum game, as Scott Galloway puts it. The civil rights movement didn't hurt white people. Gay marriage didn't hurt heteronormative marriage, as Scott Galloway puts it. And so if men are doing well, it won't hurt women. It'll actually benefit women, and we'll all benefit from it. And so that's another key aspect of this book that everybody should consider before they really get started in reading it. So this book is really for everybody, especially if you're interested in men's self-improvement or understanding men's struggles. This book is a lot of things. Scott Galloway takes a lot of different angles in this book. It's a memoir, it's an autobiography, it's a self-improvement book, it's an educational book, and it really talks about masculinity in all different aspects. Scott Galloway talks about his own life. He grew up in Southern California. He was raised by a mom and a dad who ended up divorcing when he was 9 years old. And he really looked up to and admired his father, but unfortunately he never got to spend as much time with his father as he wanted to because he was always splitting time between his mother and his father. And so it was very tough for him. And as the book goes on, you learn that Scott Galloway now he has a family of his own. He has a wife and 2 sons. And he sees the struggles that young men are facing, and he wants his sons to do well in life. And so what's really cool about this book is at the very end, he writes a letter to both of his sons. And by proxy, it's also a letter to all young men out there. And Scott Galloway writes about all of his nuggets of wisdom in that letter. And it's the very end of the book. I highly recommend you read that portion as well if you do pick it up. This book talks about what it is to be a man. Scott Galloway talks about being a protector, being a provider, being a procreator, which is traditionally what men are supposed to do. They're supposed to protect, provide for the people that they love, and procreate just means that they're supposed to help raise the next generation of kids and make sure that they're set up for success. And he talks about how being a man is about being strong. It's about being confident, capable, having courage, having discipline, having the strength of your convictions, also being kind, having good manners, being someone who is a gentleman, who makes women feel safe and protected. And that's really awesome. And there's so many different, really cool points that Scott Galloway points out in this book. I wanted to share 3 quotes with you all that I really enjoyed, and it really gives you more insight into this book and the nature of it. The first quote: work to be able to absorb the chaos and anxiety around you without it absorbing you. Take arrows, be an active and big part of your loved ones' lives, and never lose sight of your role as protector. Great quote. Second quote: get strong, really strong, physically and mentally. The goal is to walk into a room and believe you can vanquish, outrun, or outlast every person in it. If you're a man out there, I would strongly recommend that you start learning jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu is my favorite hobby, and over the past 5 years I've been training jiu-jitsu. It really gives you camaraderie, it really helps you with self-defense, it really makes you a good citizen, it makes you capable and confident, and it makes you a better person. I would really encourage everybody to start training jiu-jitsu because it really gets to that point of this quote about being strong both physically and mentally. If you haven't started training jiu-jitsu, start training jiu-jitsu. Last quote: there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. That's the emperor of all oxymorons. There's cruelty, criminality, bullying, predation, and abuse of power. If you're guilty of any of these things, or conflate being male with coarseness or savagery, you're not masculine, you're anti-masculine. And toxic masculinity has been thrown out a lot, especially over the past 10 years, and a lot of the times for good reason, because men being powerful, sometimes they abuse that power, and that's wrong. At the same time, this book talks about positive masculinity, and that men can use their innate power for the good of society, and that's when we all flourish, and the world becomes a better place as a result for it. So in terms of my final score for this book, I give this book an 8 out of 10. Solid. I recommend this book. Scott Galloway is part of the triumvirate on the left side of politics, talking about men's self-improvement, which I really admire. The left side, the liberal side, they've been talking about women's rights, which is great. They've been talking about LGBTQ rights, about underrepresented minorities. They haven't been really talking about men's improvement as much, and it really took courage for Scott Galloway to write this book. He's a part of the triumvirate, him alongside Richard Reeves. He wrote the book Of Boys and Men. He's a social psychologist at the Brookings Institute. The other one is Jonathan Haidt, who is world famous psychologist. He wrote The Anxious Generation. So I give this book an 8 out of 10 in terms of a review score. In terms of any sort of critiques, I really wish Scott Galloway talked more about relationships and about setting boundaries, because women want strong men who can lead, and oftentimes men have to set boundaries, right? Women, oftentimes, they push buttons and they push boundaries. You have to stand up and hold the line and still be good and still be kind and virtuous. That's one thing I wish he talked about more, because a lot of men nowadays are whipped, and we don't want any of that. But anyway, Thanks so much for watching the video, everybody. Take care. Talk to you soon. Bye.